NSE up almost 1% last week. We did see a loss of 0.5% on Friday, so a little bit of pressure coming through. Those rescued banks coming under slight pressure, but that said, we have seen some positive numbers for some time now when it comes to the rescued lenders.
Yes, I think what we're seeing in the rescued banks is when AMCON came out with its pricing for the marginal loan shares, it was going to take on at 60% premium on the last 60-day average. I think that set a benchmark for the pricing of these rescued bank shares, because a lot of the margin loan share collateral are rescued bank shares. And so I think investors are taking that as an indicator of where the rescued bank should be priced.
Well, looking at some of these stock prices, would you still be accumulating at this level? It seems a lot of news has, of course, been priced in. We're waiting from news from AMCON by the end of the year with regards to their bond as well. Do you think that for now we'll just see a little bit of streamlining?
I think we'll see streamlining. I don't see any great pressure to accumulate on the bank shares on the whole, especially on the rescued banks. We still haven't got more detail on any merger and acquisition information and on where the growth in the banking sector is going to be.
What about those top-tier banks? We saw a little bit of downside coming through for some of the banks last week. At what level would you say is a good buying opportunity in terms of percentages? Downside, some of these stocks have been coming under pressure, but then again, others have been quite buoyant.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is that with AMCON coming out with clear strategy of what they're going to do for the rescued banks, investors are now looking forward as to the strategy for the banks, or the entire banking sector going forward. Now, what we hope is that there's going to be growth in lending. But how this growth is going to be and how much it's going to be is in doubt. And without this growth, we can't see real progress in the banking sector. So until there's more clarity around there, I don't think investors are going to be very keen on taking on the financial stocks.
It's reported that AMCON is to sell $16.6 billion worth of bonds by the end of March next year. And it seems the first tranche is expected to come out by the end of December. Quite an interesting move. Some would say this isn't a good idea because of the lack of liquidity in the market. Would you agree with this?
I think it has to be done. Now, the banks, especially the rescued banks, have to be prepared for merger and acquisition activity so the banking sector can move forward. Now, what they're trying to do is issue some zero-coupon bonds that have a 3-year tenor. Now, basically an asset swap. They'll swap those zero-coupon bonds for the non-performing loans. Now, the issue for a lot of the rescued banks that take part in this is that non-performing loans is not giving them any income because they're non-performing. But a zero-coupon bond is not going to give them any income as well until at least the maturity of the bond in 3 years' time, where it will probably be taken over by a 7-year coupon yielding bond. So the rescued banks have to look for other sources of income. I think that is what people are worried about.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to be participating in these bonds, Kayode?
I think initially what is going to happen, AMCON is going to swap the bonds with the rescued banks. Then it's up to the rescued banks to either hold on to the bonds or decide to discount it on the market. Now, you try to discount it on the market, there are two options. There's CBN, which you can discount it to, but I think from what we hear, CBN is trying to discourage them from using them as a discount tool. And there's the market for pension funds and other international local investors that we could discount the bonds to. Now, with the FGN bonds, this large amount of bonds and corporate bonds like Flour mills coming onto the market, there's a potential crowding out.
Kayode, do you think that banks are still going to take a loss? Because one of the problems that could be faced, that even with a 60% premium paid on the collateral, it still falls well short of the original value of the loans, again then leaving the banks at a loss.
I think a lot of the banks are provisioned for a lot of those loans. So coming out, as long as what the value of the bonds they get is equal to the book value they have of those provisioned loans now, they should be okay. I think the main issue for them is really how they're going to grow income going forward once their balance sheet is sorted, because it will require rapid increase in growth in the lending sector. And this rapid uncontrolled growth in lending to the private sector that led to the initial problems we had in the last 3 years. So that is the main worry.
Let's touch on Dangote Flour coming out with results, of course, on Friday after the bell. Third quarter numbers and pre-tax profit rising to 7 billion naira from 5.5 billion a year ago. So nice increase there. And we've also seen some good growth on top line as well.
Yes, and Dangote Flour has shown good growth. I mean, they're expanding production. They expect to expand production from 4,800 metric tons per day to 7,300. They're introducing new products. Their subsidiaries such as Dangote Pasta, Dangote Noodles are doing quite well, and they're bringing new products. Their turnover for the whole of last year, 2009, was 61 billion. So have Q3 at 57 is showing they're going to surpass that this year. And they seem to be lowering costs. They're one of the few factories that have their own power station, which helps lower costs, and also other synergies they're putting in. So I think Dangote Flour is doing quite well at the moment.
Kayode, how do you think the market is going to respond to these numbers? Do you think it's largely being priced in?
No, I think they'll react positively. I think investors, when they see those numbers, especially with continued growth, especially the interest in that sector with flour mills issuing their bond, expected to issue their bond this week, I think investors will take it quite positively.
Kayode, let's touch on the telecom space. Number portability, top of the agenda for the regulators. We've only seen the impact it's had here in South Africa with GNP really making a big difference in terms of competition. How do you think it's going to be taken up in Nigeria?
Well, the new entrants into the sector, such as Etisalat, now Airtel, have been pushing the regulator for this portability, because you have the big two, MTN and Globacom, have been able to maintain the customers they had because of number portability, the lack of number portability. I think with that, especially with the price war that Airtel have started, you could see customers moving their numbers to these new entrants. But I think the big issue, especially for the telecom sector in Nigeria, is the move from voice to data. Voice is very competitive at the moment, and the big growth area is in data, where ARPU for data is sometimes, for some telecom companies, 5 times the ARPU for voice. And we see a big move in that sector.
Exactly, Kayode. I think that is the key point. So when it comes to Africa as a whole, that voice is just becoming increasingly competitive. We're seeing what's been happening in East Africa. So a lot of movement towards data, but also just keeping in mind that the price war that has been launched by Airtel, some say it isn't sustainable because you're just really not doing much for the profitability of the company. Do you think that it can be held up for much longer?
No, I think they're a new entrant. They want to make a splash. With the price, if they sustain that price war for 6-7 months, and they have number portability, they're trying to attract new customers. I think once they've attracted the customers, built a customer base, I think they will then regulate the price into a more affordable price in terms of their profitability. But I think it's really just a new entrant into the market, trying to take as much market share as they can.
Kayode, heading into the end of the year, and of course looking at 2011, I'm sure you have a few stocks on mind that you might be accumulating at this point, and of course rebalancing of portfolios. What is your view? Where do you think that there's opportunity when it comes to the NSE? I
think in terms of the NSE, I'm looking at food and beverages. A lot of the food and beverage sector are increasing capacity, they're decreasing the operational costs, and they're becoming more efficient. And with the growth in the consumer market, especially in terms of food retail and fast consumables in Nigeria, you're going to see continued growth in that sector. I'm decreasing my holdings in financials, because I don't think the current financial sector as it is, the CBN has done a good job of stabilizing the sector, but for the sector to continue to grow, they need to do rapid growth in lending, and that's what led to the problems before. I think we have to be confident that they can grow lending rapidly at a more controlled state, and I think we haven't got that confidence yet. I think in other sectors, the petroleum marketing, I think is in big trouble. I think there's a lot of debt they have in the petroleum marketing sector, and once subsidies are removed, which are expected next year in the petroleum market, I think they will see more issues there. So it's really food and beverages I'm concentrating on.
Okay, good. And also just keeping in mind that trading is going to be expanded from today onwards, to my understanding, 2 hours extra. Do you think this is going to change liquidity? Some are relatively divided on this, saying that most of the trade, the big trade, really occurs half an hour before the market closes.
I don't think it's going to have no effect at all. The problem we have with liquidity right now is confidence in the market and ability to access the market for people from remote trading. We haven't got that much remote trading at the moment, so increasing the hours to say you're going to take that to the international market. The international market can't do remote trading. They still have to go through the local brokers. It's not going to make any effect at all. I think it's good as part of the reforms process that taking step by step, and it may include the new DG of the NSE is going to be appointed, and other new issues. I think it will help the market going forward. But I think at the moment in time, it's going to have no effect on liquidity.